What's going on, guys? It's Jack here. Nice to see you guys. I don't come here often. This is my YouTube channel. I'm excited that you're joining and you're watching this today. I'm hoping this year I'm going to spend a lot more time here with you guys, diving into all things photography, maybe a little bit of graphic design, maybe a little bit of video stuff, and hopefully maybe even some tech, some apps if you're interested. Those are a few of my interests, but the focus today really is the 5 photo books that every photographer should own. I own them. I think you should too. There's some of the classics, maybe some you haven't heard before, but let's dive right into it. So the first book today is an extra special one because it's actually the author's birthday. They're not still around, unfortunately, but probably a photographer you know and you may love if you've been interested in this art for some time. It's Ansel Adams, and the book is The Camera. So he has a number of books, a bunch similar to this in his photography series. This is book 1 of 4. I think it's just 4. I have 4, but he has other books on the negative, on the print. I mean, if he was nothing else, he was an absolute master of printing, as well as one on Polaroid landscapes. But The Camera is my favorite of his. He obviously is a legend photographer, but why I love this book is it covers not only the basics of photography, aperture, focal length, metering, et cetera, really how a camera works, but it also has this depth that's valuable really to any photographer at any point in their career. So I kind of call it the photography Bible. I come back to this one very frequently. Ansel Adams, The Camera, just an incredible work. So definitely go pick this one up. The next one is The Americans, another classic. The photographer is Robert Frank. It actually has an introduction by Jack Kerouac. So it's got to be somewhat good if a legendary writer is introducing another legendary photographer. But as Kerouac says in the introduction, Robert Frank was able to capture the humor, the sadness, and really the everythingness of Americanism. So this is one of the first photo books where a photographer went across the United States with black and white film and really photographed the mundane, the forgotten, the everyday life. He's really a pioneer of street photography. Kerouac goes on to say that after exploring the work with the Americans, you're not sure if a jukebox is sadder than a coffin. And I think by that he means that Frank photographed things that were often overlooked, and with composition and with a depth that really made you reconsider their role in our lives, and for better or for worse, and just gave more emotion to the everyday. I think one of the things I think about when I think about street photography is it's very easy when you're photographing something now in the present to feel like it's not important, that it won't hold any weight over time. But I think that's the wrong idea. I think that's something that street photographers should push away, and we should embrace photographing the everyday, because that's the kind of stuff that in 10, 20, 50 years we're going to look back on and love those quiet, simple moments in the everyday that really show us our humanity. So definitely check out The Americans. Fantastic book. Can't say enough of it. The next book is another favorite of mine, not surprisingly. The story behind this photographer is equally as impressive, if not more mysterious than the photos themselves. And you may have guessed it, but it's Vivian Maier, a photographer found. So if you're not familiar with Vivian Maier, she was a nanny in Chicago, I think also in New York, for decades. And she had a Rolleiflex camera, medium format, that she shot. If you're familiar with that kind of camera, you shoot it sort of from your hip. So it's not right in your face. So you're able to capture a lot of moments that may go overlooked, and your subject may not even know that you're photographing them. So her work was just incredibly powerful, But the story behind it is that she actually never printed any of her work while she was alive. A young man actually a few years back made a documentary called Finding Vivian Maier. He actually won, or he purchased a storage unit that was filled with hundreds of thousands of negatives of Vivian Maier's. And she became posthumously famous and one of the most famous photographers in the world, because her work is so incredible. But let me try to pick out a couple photos for you guys just while you're here. She also was really sort of a incredible self-portraitist, portraiture, took incredible self-portraits. So, if you're she was also able to capture scenes of forgotten individuals, whether those were children or maybe a drunk in the street that no one else was paying attention to. And she gave them humanity, she gave them voice, she gave them power and magnitude through her work. And here's just a quick example of a shot that she did of just school children posing with a dog on the street corner. Just absolutely incredible captures of, again, everyday life, but specifically with respect to children in Chicago and in New York. So highly recommend picking up Vivian Maier as a photographer found. Next up is Cape Light. This is Joel Meyerowitz's first large format work, shot in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. I have a particular close bond to this work because I actually grew up going to Cape Cod my entire life. So when I found out about Cape Light and when I dove into these incredible large format photographs of soft light, soft afternoon, evening golden light on the side of a beach shack in Provincetown or Truro, I actually was able to go explore those same places, the Rosewood Cottages in Truro or P-Town, and just felt this affinity to Joel because I actually moved to New York City right after college, where he made his career as a street photographer, and actually had escaped from New York City for a number of years in the summertime to photograph slower work, not something that could dart across the street necessarily, but all the incredible textures and moods of light on the water and just really on everything else. So incredible kind of bond that I feel. I've never met Joel. I'd love to. It would be incredible to someday, reminisce of his time in the 70s and 80s in the Cape and my time in the 90s and 2000s and so on. But just if you're interested in how to take better landscape photographs, how to wait and be patient and take photographs of seemingly similar scenes on different days and see how their mood may change and how you can dive into the nuances of those scenes. Cape Light is really, I can't say enough good things about it. It's probably my favorite photography book of all time. So definitely one to pick up. And then finally, I could go on for hours, but I want to give you guys 5 to really focus on today, is Steve McCurry's Animals. I actually got this as a gift, I think for Christmas a while back, but Steve, you'll be familiar with because he photographed the just incredible Afghan girl portrait that was on the cover of the Nat Geo magazine years and years ago. I think it was back in the 80s actually. And he went back a few years ago to find that girl, now woman, and photograph her again. Just incredibly striking eyes. I'm sure I don't even have to tell you guys more about it. You probably already popped into your head, but what I love about Steve's animal work is he had a chance throughout his career to travel to India, to travel all over Asia, really everywhere. And I think with most nature photography, most animal photography, it stops a little short of having that depth, right? It might be an incredible shot of a lion in the Sahara, or rather in the Serengeti, or a camel in the Sahara, but there's not really a story around it. And let me see if I can find one photo that might kind of explain a little bit more of this, how Steve's work can really showcase a little bit more of a story behind the image, so with respect to animals. So here's one where it's a man lying on the tracks, the cattle are crossing, and it's the kind of photo that I think is part of the reason why Steve's such an incredible, famous photographer. Is it seems like maybe an everyday scene, but it pulls you in. It leaves you wanting more. It leaves you asking questions about what the scenario was, and how these animals interacted with humans. Here's another one of my favorites. This could have very easily been a photo by a camel, of a camel by themselves alone in the Sahara, but instead he captured it, transporting this gentleman with some sort of container. So you're left wondering what's inside, where are they going? It looks like there might be a dust storm approaching. So incredible photographer, incredible storyteller, and definitely recommend picking up Steve McCurry's Animals. So with that, those are my five. Those are my five book recommendations that every photographer should own. We covered portrait work. There's a lot of that in Vivian Meyer's work. We covered street photography with Robert Frank. We covered landscape photography with Joel Meyerowitz. We covered nature photography with Steve McCurry. And we covered the basics in the Bible with Ansel Adams himself. So just a really great way to round out your photography book collection. And there are a number of other creators and photographers on YouTube that I definitely think you should go check out if you want to learn more about great photography books. Matt Day, Joe Greer, Willem Verbeek, and I'm sure a number of others that I'm forgetting routinely highlight incredible photo books on their pages. I'd also urge you to check out The Candid Frame, which is a podcast. It's my favorite podcast. And I think I just showed you some of the more famous photographers, but maybe in a follow-up video, I'll show you some other work from some lesser known photographers that also, are up and coming, that deserve a little bit of the limelight. So anyways, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hit the subscribe button, hit the like button. I'm new to this, so, who knows where this will go. Leave a comment if there's things you want to hear more about, whether it's my setup. I can take you on a photo walk at some point, or really anything else. So we'll see where this goes. And thanks for tuning in today, and have a great rest of your day. Peace.